both been in our stomach for Senator Bernie Sanders. So his commitment is solid. And so that tree that I talked about, the tree, knowing the tree about the Prudent Bear, that is really all about Ben Jones. He doesn't have to pretend to be this progressive. He is that progressive. And all of you here tonight, you already know he has convinced them. One of the things that I really respect is that when he said that if the federal government wants to have Medicare for all, we will have Medicare for all. The fact that he understands that our young people should not be saddled with debt, a degree in one hand, debt in the other, they won't come to save. Somebody who went to the schools when those babies were sitting in their classrooms with coats on in Maryland, he went to those schools and said, under this watch, that would never happen again. I'm talking about a man on a mission. See, many are called, but few are chosen. He is chosen to do a great work at this moment, at this time. And he has all three of my grandmother's bones, the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. The jawbone is for speaking truth, the power to lifting your voice, to not being afraid, and the backbone is for standing up.
She tries to keep this a secret, but she has a new house, and it's in Maryland. So we come now. You know, it's easy in these times. In these times when our president terrorizes us from his Twitter account. In these times when everybody's a little more stressed out than they expected to be at this point in their lives. It is easy to feel like there's only one playbook. The Donald Trump playbook, Tony. The Donald Trump playbook, buddy over there at the bar. Of divide and conquer, pick a scapegoat and turn the people against each other. But you know, I'm blessed on both sides of my family to descend from families with long oral traditions. My dad descends from 7 members of the Massachusetts Regiment of the Revolutionary Army, including the youngest combatant at the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Wow. And my mom descends from 2 black Reconstruction statesmen. My grandma's 101 years old. Marilyn Ashley pensioner, an actuary's nightmare, and proof of the value of a good pension. But her granddad was born a slave, died a state senator, and co-founded Virginia State University. When you grow up in those families, and my grandmother literally descends from Thomas Jefferson's grandmother by her other grandchildren that were her slaves. And when you grow up in those families that talk about the Revolution or the Civil War like it was 3 weeks ago, you're reminded that there's an older American playbook. There's an older playbook than divide and conquer. It's the playbook of rebel together. See, before there were slave rebellions, there were colonial rebellions. You have your old Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. Read the first chapter again. 1663, 300 years before Martin Luther King's March on Washington. 100 or so miles from here as the crow flies. Down in Gloucester, Virginia. An edict comes down from the king to the governor to the people on that government. It can be summarized simply as, and your status shall convey to your children. Prior to that, the status conveyed through the mother. So if you were a black slave man and you had a child with a free white woman, the children were born free. That's how Obama descends from an African slave on his white mother's side. But this said that the lowest status of either parent would convey to the children. And we rebelled together. Irish indentured servants, African slaves rose up together in that moment. It would only be after several such rebellions, ultimately through Bacon's rebellion in 1676, that they would begin to legislate with the intention of dividing indentured servants and African slaves so that there would be less power. And why is that important? Because this moment that we're living through right now, is one of those, and your status shall convey to your children kind of moments. For the first time in America, because of mounting student debt, because of mass incarceration, because of healthcare bills that are out of control, and an economy that has been suppressed by all of the above. For the first time in America, the grandparents and the parents agree that the children and grandchildren are likely to be worse off than that. That's why it's so easy for Donald Trump to make such wishes. But when you're an organizer, and I've been an organizer my entire adult life, even earlier, I started off as a precinct captain for Jesse Jackson when I was 14 years old. When you're an organizer, you know that that same context makes it easier for you to pull people together if you're willing to do the hard work of organizing. Because, simply stated, more people have more self-interest in us making big leaps forward. And that's what we need to do for our families right now. You know, what lifted my family out of poverty in West Baltimore? My grandparents and my mom. My mom was in half her life in the Color Homes Housing Project in West Baltimore. What lifted them out of poverty is when we became a double union household. And how did that happen? How did that happen? Well, first we needed to have Brown versus Board of Education happen. But right after that, Granddad went to the University of Maryland School of Law, and the tuition was $200. Wow. And he went for 1 year. Because the dean said he didn't want Negroes and he didn't want night students, so Granddad persisted for 1 year, and that was enough to be, his goal was simply to get a better job. And he became a probation officer. That tuition, that $200 tuition, that was late 1950s. By 1970, it was $410. If it had kept keeping up with inflation like it did in that period, it would be $2,600. Low enough that you can work all summer as a waiter, sleep on a friend's couch, and pay it off in cash on the first day. But it's actually now tuition and fees above $31,000. So much that it's hard to come out of the University of Maryland School of Law without either depleting a family fortune or going $100,000 into debt. And it's killing our economy. Gallup organization, famous for the Gallup poll, releases a report a few months ago called The Great American Slowdown. What's the bottom line? Every decade, 80s, 90s, 2000s, now, the 20 teens, The American economy has grown more slowly than the decade before. Why? Biggest reason, fewer young Americans are starting new business. Everything we are seeking to do in this campaign, from making our public education system the fattest pipeline into every industry in the state, so every young person goes out ready for a career. Like in college, passing single payer, which will buy me 30 so that finally our small businesses stop getting choked by astronomically rising healthcare costs. Everything we're doing in this campaign is fundamentally about building a more robust, inclusive economy in Maryland. There's no way to be the party of working people, not be the party of small business.
Yes.
There's no way to be the party of working people and not be the party of small business people. I spent my life, since I left the NAACP, the last 5 years, helping to grow small businesses into big businesses. And it steeled me as a progressive. Because trickle-down economics has only ever worked for the corporate class. We have a governor. We have a governor who tries to pass himself off as a people person, but look at what he's done. It's clear he's on the side of the corporate kings, not the rest of us. He lets them strip mine us with steeply rising healthcare costs. We say that we need some time off to spend with our families when we're sick. He says no. We say